All right. Welcome to the Chopping It Up show. I'm your host, Joe Beard. Happy to be of service for you today. Today is March 2nd,
Uh-huh.
2025, 3 o'clock on the West Coast and 6 o'clock on the East Coast. We appreciate all those listening live or listening at podcast form through whatever platform that you are on. We appreciate the support. So this is really cool. And so we'll get into it in the conversation. But today we are chopping it up with Jackqualine T. Barnes. How are you doing in this podcast?
I am good. I'm blessed. It's a beautiful day. Thank you for having me, Joe.
Yes, yes. This is really cool. So really cool. So y'all know um Jacqueline went to Jackson State. So I'll put that out there now, as y'all can see. And I met her at the Honda Battle of the Bands.
Yeah.
As you guys know, the Honda came out here to LA, and I was really excited about that. And I'm walking, trying to see if I can catch up with the bands, because I knew people that you guys know that trying to get a hold of a lot of people, and I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to get to the bands, and so I'm walking, so I see these two girls, and one girl has this Jackson State jacket on.
Yes, indeed.
And so I went up and spoke to her, of course, naturally, and I found another alumni out here in California. So I'm really glad you decided to be on the show, but it's always cool to talk to HBCU graduates living out here because we
Yes.
so far from all of it.
Yes.
So I wanted to have the world hear your story, just in case there are a lot of students out this way that want to go to HBCUs or just any way that we can expand the brand, if you will. And so I really appreciate your time today.
Of course. Of course. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so this is great. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Where are you from?
So I was born in Greenville, Mississippi, Mississippi Delta.
Okay.
I went to school in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay. All right. Now, where did you go to school there in Jackson?
So I went to first I went to Bradley Elementary.
Okay.
So that was from kindergarten to first semester, first grade. So my mom, which has been in JPS since my second semester, first grade, till this day, she
Wow.
started her job as an office manager for Span Elementary, my second semester, first grade. So I ended up going to Span Elementary my second semester of first grade. Um, and then after that, I went to Northwest Jackson. I tested into the IB program, and I went to Northwest Jackson and then Northwest Jackson Middle School. And then I ended up going to Lanier High School
Oh.
for my freshman year from August until October. I tested into the AP program at Murrah High School. And
Wow.
that's what October I went to Murrah High School and I graduated from Murrah High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is crazy. So I saw your invitation. When did you graduate high school?
2007.
Okay, 2007. See, I'm starting to feel old, man. I'm starting to get up there. Okay, so 2007. So what's really cool is when I was in high school, so my dad's from Jackson.
Yes.
He went to Jim Hill
Okay.
and then moved to St. Louis after he finished Jackson State. Well, no, he was in Greenville for a little while
Small
doing
world.
student. I know he was student teaching in Greenville because he was in a program I think called Teach America where you did so much student teaching, it'll help with some of your loans or whatever.
Okay.
Um, and so then after that, he started graduate school at St. Louis University, and so he moved up there. And so I'm in high school, and we had this thing called in basketball, it was called the shootout,
Okay.
and that's when they invited high schools from all over the country who had like a big star, like a big 5-star recruit for basketball.
Hmm.
And I'll never forget our state champion. I think it was Riverview Stars. They played Murrah High School, And so this was like 94.
Okay.
And I think there was a guy, I think his name was Lonnie Henderson or something, and Jesse Pay. I think those are the two guys' names
Okay.
that went to I believe it was Murrah High School, and they blew out our state champions. I mean, everybody was like, what is, like, people didn't know nothing about Jackson or Mississippi or anything.
Yeah.
And so I remember I told my dad, so he was so proud, man. Like, he was so proud. Murrah came up there and romped up on our state champions. So every time I hear Murrah High School, I always think of that day, how proud my dad was. Okay, all right. So did you attend, like, did you march in the band or anything like that? Or what was your first, would you say, because you in the state, what would you say was your first HBC experience?
So I come from a family of Alcorn State University
Oh wow, okay.
and Tougaloo College.
Okay, okay,
So mom and daddy went to Tougaloo College. That's how they met.
okay.
Now, daddy went to Colin and Tougaloo and both on a basketball scholarship.
Oh, okay.
Mama went to Mississippi Valley State, Oakwood University, which is also HBCU, and ended up at Tougaloo College.
Wow.
So HBCUs was just, that was just the thing, at the house.
Right.
But growing up around Alcorn State University, my great uncles, my mother's uncles, all play ball. They are all basketball royalty at Alcorn State University. They are in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. My uncle Elijah Bell, my uncle William Bell, they live and breathe Alcorn State.
Okay.
So me, I've always went to the Alcorn Jackson State games, always sat on Alcorn side.
Oh wow, okay.
Never sat on Jackson State side, nothing. I remember, and I'm a little bitty kid, and it was, for me, I was so used to it because you in Jackson, you see, the Jackson State basketball games. I had cousins going to Jackson State University. We would go, bring them stuff or take them to grandma's house, so she can feed them and bring them back to the campus, things like that. They were older than me. So yeah, I had seen HBCU life basically my whole life.
So and you talk about all the family members there at basketball, because you kind of tall yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was the first thing I noticed about you. So that's interesting. So all of your family, and then from the Alcorn side. Okay, so that kind of rolls into my next question. So you had the Alcorn experience, so to speak, and you went to Murrah High School. What was your college selection process like?
Okay, so this is a story, Joe. So hold on to your seat.
Okay.
So I applied my tail off for colleges. I was like, I gotta get out of Jackson. I gotta get out of Jackson. That's the only thing that was in my mind. I gotta get up out of here. So I applied for Clark Atlanta. I applied for University of North Carolina Tar Heels. I applied for FAMU, Columbia University, Johnson and Wales. And I get into why I applied for there. I applied for so many colleges. And I probably applied for maybe 20 or more.
Okay.
Around about 4 I didn't get into. I applied for UCLA. A lot of these colleges that were out of state that I applied to, I got in for the most part, but a lot of them, it would be partial scholarship or whatever.
Yeah.
So I knew, I wouldn't be able to just, maintain that and stay in school. But my school that I wanted to go to was Clark.
Really? In Atlanta?
I saw Drumline. And I said, it's college. It's in college. I'm going. That's where I want to go. And the thing about it with growing up, I was born in 88. And so I was a kid, you know, in the 90s, of the 90s.
Yeah.
So a different world, you know, I used to eat that up. Like, man, that's college.
Mhm.
So in my mind, you know, I'm almost getting ready to go to college. I see Drumline. I see Clark Atlanta. My eyes on the prize.
Right.
So I applied. I got in. I got in for their mass communications program. The recruiter was amazing, amazing. And so it's about 2 weeks into time to move on campus. I get a phone call on my little flip phone, and he say, you know, hey Jackie, you know, I got some news for you. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm thinking this is about, you know, dorm assignment, room assignment, or something. And he's like, you know, Mass Comm lost accreditation at that time.
Wow.
And I can't go too deep into it, but you know, that broke my heart. It's I was like, what? What? So I told my mama. My mama the whole time been telling me, Jackie, apply for Jackson State University. I was like, Mom, I do not want to be in Jackson. Like I'm ready to go. And she kept. It was her. It was 1,000% her telling me to apply for Jackson State University. So I'm like, okay. So shout out to Miss Shaw. May she rest in peace. She's one of my favorite teachers at Murrah High School. So I was the president of the news station at Murrah High School.
Okay.
And that was WMHS. And I was in TSA, Technology Students Association. And she was just like, you know, you should apply for Johnson and Wales. If you're in TSA, you get a full scholarship. She was right. And I did. So I looked up the school and I got in and I looked it up. And at the time, it was like, you know, XGs, you know, on the computer, you know.
Right, right.
So that's how I'm looking up, you know, trying to see what is the school about. No, you know, like basketball team. There was no like football. There was no really sports. And in my mind, there's no way I'm going to your school. No disrespect to, you know, Johnson and Wales, but at that time, they didn't have like this robust, you know, experience that I knew that I wanted in a in a
Right.
in a college, in a university. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going there. So I applied also for Alcorn, and I got at the time I got a scholarship for radio communications.
Okay.
And I remember looking and I was like, man, I really don't want to go to Alcorn. No, I don't want to go, you know. So me and my homegirls, we're in Miss Shaw's. So there's a classroom, and then there's a room with computers in it, and then there's her office, and she had a huge room. So she taught technology discovery. So that was my homeroom.
Okay.
And so she was just like, you know, y'all come on in here, you know, you can apply for whatever you apply for the rest of your colleges. So cool. So we all sitting down and I applied for Spelman as well. Forgot about that. And so we're all sitting next to each other, and I'm like, my mama telling me I gotta apply for Jackson State. My mama telling me the same thing. So we all kind of just like we sitting down, and you remember the Macintosh computers with the colorful ones with the big backs, and it was like green and pink and blue. I was
Yes.
on that computer.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
remember applying, and I think it was like a PDF version of Jackson State application. So I filled it out. Got in, and it was late in the game. It was late. It was very close to August when I filled out for Jackson State.
Wow, really?
So yes, and so I was like, man, and my mama fussing, you probably don't get no scholarship because you're late, and you know, and I'm just like, it is what it is. You telling me to do it, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
So I got in, and the rest is history. I remember, so that first week, you know, the freshmen kind of get there a little early.
Mhm.
And so you get there, you have a whole week before school starts to get you
Right.
acclimated to the campus and all that stuff.
Right.
And I remember they did like this roll call. So
Yep.
we were in the auditorium. I think it was the Rosie McCoy Auditorium. And so it's JPS down, Jackson Public School System. It was JPS down in there. So
Right.
half these people I know. I grew up with y'all. Either I know you from elementary, middle, or high. And I remember they were doing like roll call for like first different states. They're doing Illinois. So Illinois goes crazy. They're doing California. They're doing, and then they get into JPS. So they calling out the schools. They call them Provine. Provine go nuts. Call them
Right.
here. Here go nuts. 833 everywhere.
Right.
What do you mean? Everywhere. So they get to Murrah High School, and we almost stumped a hole in the ground. We had the biggest incoming freshman class at Jackson State.
Wow.
So if you were incoming class 2007, it was like 13th grade because, we just graduated together in May. We back
Right.
together in August. What's up? So I was so blessed and so thankful to my mom for telling me to apply for Jackson State because I just didn't want to be in Jackson. I had nothing against Jackson State. I
Right.
was just ready to go. But getting into Jackson State, being there with all my friends that I just graduated, we all thinking, hugging each other on graduation day in May, thinking I ain't probably gonna see you, for another 10 years. I'm out of here.
Right.
And we were just like, nope, we drove down the street from my house, came on down to Jackson State, and one of the best decisions I made in my life. So
That's pretty cool. I've heard that story where so many people there there are more people out of state
uh-huh.
that said that they wanted to go to Jackson State and then they got in and then they went to Jackson State.
Yeah.
I was very similar to you because my dad being from Jackson,
Mhm.
we followed he marched in the band.
Okay.
So I knew I was going to be in the band wherever I was going. I was going to be in a black college band.
Yes.
I was very much similar to you. So we're 10 years apart. I was born 78 and
Okay.
I finished in 96.
Okay.
And so I was the same way where I saw different world and school days, all of that
Yes.
stuff.
School days. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. One of my favorites. Yeah.
that's right. And
Mhm.
then because all of my cousins were there in Jackson with all my aunts and uncles, they either went to Provine or
Okay.
Callaway. Those were
Okay.
the two schools like where they lived. And of course they marched in the band. So I had three cousins that marched in the boom.
Okay.
And so I knew all about it. Remember we went to Memphis every year with Tennessee State.
Mhm.
So I was in Memphis every year. Um, Chicago, Indianapolis when we went to the Circle City Classic.
Okay.
All of anywhere the boom was and it was driving distance, I went. So I was not going to Jackson State. When it was time, I was like, I want to march in a different band. I want to start my own thing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I ended up, I was at Hampton first, and then I got kicked out.
Ah!
Yeah, I got kicked out, and then I ended up at Johnson C. Smith, and a high school crunk on us.
Okay.
And so I ended up. So I remember I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I like you were right, man. But the same story. My parents, he said, go ahead and apply to Jackson State. Go
Mhm.
ahead and do it because you don't know. My
Yeah.
sister had a similar story. She wasn't in the band, but she wanted to go to Grambling. She was
Okay.
like, I want to start my own thing. And then something happened with the housing. They drove all the way down there and she didn't have a room. Something crazy happened.
Yeah.
Same thing. My dad said, apply to Jackson State. Just do it anyway. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So my sister ended up going to Jackson State. So it's funny I always like hearing people's college selection process because most of the time people say, oh, well, I was going somewhere else.
Yep.
And then something happened
Mhm.
and I ended up at Jackson State. And then of course we all happy that we ended up going. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's pretty dope. Okay. So now you at Jackson State. So this is the fall of 2007.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What would you say was your most memorable experience in college?
I have a couple. So
Okay.
one that stands out the most is So my freshman year, Jackson State and Alcorn, the class is here.
Yeah.
So my folks, they already know I'm going to Jackson State. They mad, feeling some type of way. All my Alcorn uncles,
Right.
they just like, so my mom and that we're not sitting on Jackson State side just so you go Jackson State.
Wow.
So they tailgate and everything. My uncles, they come in, they bring their cooler, they come into the game. So I come in, I'm with my friends, I'm on Jackson State side, they're on Alcorn side. So we at the vet, and I look, and my mama calls me, and she was just like, look over here. And she was telling me where they were, on the field line. And I look,
Yeah.
all I hear in the arms is screaming traitor. And they just going.
Oh.
And it's like 30 people. I was in tears laughing so hard. I could not hold myself. Like, it was so funny to me. And my uncles just going off, and they, turned up. That was one of the most funnest games ever. Because that particular game, we beat Alcorn down to the ground. So
Right.
I remember that was one of the funniest times of me being at Jackson State. Another time was it was a financial aid situation. And as you know, that's very common, amongst HBCUs with financial aid,
Yes,
office, and
indeed.
things like that. It can be the worst. So I remember, shout out to Dr. Lackey.
Oh boy. So real
Yeah,
quick,
go ahead.
That's my father's frat brother.
Okay.
And you know how popular Dr. Lackey is.
hmm
So
hmm
I had him for history, I think.
Okay.
So I mean, I got a
I
lot
took
of
you
stories
through
about Dr. Lackey, but
that.
yeah, but it was funny because if I missed class, he was like, "Joe, I'm gonna tell your daddy," and he would say it in front of everybody,
Uh-uh.
and so I was like, "Nah." So I didn't miss too much of his class, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, shout out to him. He was one of, I think, everybody that went through Jackson State that met Dr. Lackey, he was one of their favorites.
mhm.
And I remember I was having issues with the financial aid office, and I saw him on campus, and he put me to the side just to speak. And I told him what was going on. I said, Dr. Lackey, like I'm going. I've been to financial aid like 10 times. Like, everything was fine at first. I don't know what's going on. I need some help here. I don't know what to do at this point. And so he tells me who to go look for in the language arts building. So because I was a mass comm major with a concentration in broadcast journalism,
Okay.
and I had a minor in English. So
Wow. Okay.
I frequented the language arts building a lot. And so shout out to the late Dolly Emmy Robinson. He told me to
Mhm.
go and speak to her directly. I said, wait a minute, because I'm thinking to myself, her name is on the building, but I didn't know she was in there.
She's big time, right? She's big
Big
time.
time. So he tells me to go in there. He tells me where to go and ask for her. And I go upstairs and I ask for her or whatever. And I walk in and she's sitting in like this chair with these like blankets on her lap. And when I walk in and I said, hey, and I was, it felt so big to be in there with her, just to
Mhm.
even speak to her. And before I could open my mouth and say I was, she said, I know who you are. So in my mind, he called her already. He said something to her already.
Mhm.
I said, okay. And she gave me like this little sheet of paper and told me, she said, you give this to them, in the financial aid office. And I said, okay. And she just looked at me and did like a little very tiny smile. And that was it. And so I thanked her and I trucked it to the financial aid office
Right.
on the way. Because look who sent me.
Right, right,
Right.
right.
So I go in there and I talk to them and I, hand them the paper and they turn around and get on the little phone and hit a little button and, kind of whisper, don't know what they said, don't care, because they put me in the back. I didn't have to wait in line. I went straight to the back.
Wow.
So I get in the back and, they talk to me and whatever, whatever, whatever. They sit down and they, push a couple of buttons. I was ready to go.
Wow.
And I can't tell you the process that I went through before that. It was a lot. It was, I remember sitting, it was so many of us that we started. I don't know if you remember the first Mass-Comm building that was on campus before they moved all of us to the East Center. There was a Mass-Comm building that was on campus.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's what I know. That's what I
yes,
recognize. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
they were still utilizing that building then because I remember I would do WJSU 88.5 FM. I was on the radio. And
Okay.
so I would do it in that building. For the 12 midnight to 3 a.m. session, I would come in after class at like 3 p.m. and I would go in there and do that session. It was in that building. And I remember going in there and they put us in like this auditorium looking kind of room in there. And because it was so many people waiting to be seen for the financial aid office. I sat in there for almost 12 hours.
Wow.
And then they would take us at like 20 at a time. And then they would shift us to
Wow.
the financial aid office. And then you would sit in there for a couple of hours and then you would be seen. And don't be missing like paperwork or something.
Ooh,
You gotta come
right,
back the next day and do it
right.
over again at 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's what I went through for about 2 days until I got in touch with Dr. Lackey and then um Dolly Amy Robinson, and then boom. It's like it never happened. And
Mhm.
so that in itself was one of the biggest experiences that stuck out for me at Jackson State. It was the love. He didn't have to do that.
Right,
He didn't have to do that. And so it was this feeling of family. Like they're gonna look out regardless. It was like these, guardian angels that you would meet on campus. Right place, right time. And I just felt like I wouldn't have got that nowhere else.
right.
And even being from Jackson, I was a little bit sheltered.
Mhm.
Because I was raised, if you know anything about the Sunset Apartments on Sunset Drive, um, I was raised in those apartments from the time I was 2 years old until I turned about 15,
Okay.
15, 16 years old, and turned into the projects. So I was in the house a lot, if it wasn't for school or for
Right,
church. Because I was
right,
one of those
right.
kids. I was in church because I was born and raised Seventh-day Adventist. So I went to school. I mean, not school. I went to church on Saturday, and so I was in church Saturday. I was in church for Sunday, which is Pathfinders, which is like a co-ed boys and girls club.
Okay,
No, Boys and Girls Scouts.
okay, okay.
So we went camping. We wore uniform. We um, learned different plants, trees, things like that. So Sundays we were there for that, and then choir rehearsal, and then you got Wednesday night prayer meeting. You got.
Right,
I mean, it went through the whole week.
right,
So we were very involved in a lot of different things growing up, but for the most part, I was at the house.
right.
So I had nothing but my books. So getting to Jackson State and seeing Jackson a whole different way
Yes, it is.
was mind blowing for me. My first time going to clubs, being on the club scene, all of that's all huge, huge memories for me. Um, Thanks to Jackson State. And I remember that also stopped me from going to clubs because I wake up in the morning and the same people I'm in the club with, I'm in class. Well, I'm tired of seeing y'all.
Right,
So
right.
it stopped me from going because I see you at the club, I see you in class, I see you on the plaza and in the cab. So
Right.
that kind of like pulled me back and kind of, got me tired quick. But yeah, I have a lot of beautiful memories, big memories, for Jackson State University for sure.
That's cool. So where is I'm trying because it sounds familiar. Where is Sunset? Is that like by the school somewhere? It's not in North Jackson, is it?
That is like Woodrow Wilson, Mega Evers, where the Hines
Oh,
Hines Comprehensive Health Center.
Okay.
That first college, the smaller one, it's right like in front of that, in front of that.
Okay. Okay.
So it's right off of coming off of Northside Drive.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's on like Woodrow Wilson, Mega Evers in that area.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
that's why I was going to Lanier because that was my district.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because it sounds familiar. But yeah, when you say Woodrow Wilson, that all like
Yeah.
puts it close. All right. So there's a couple things. So one, to piggyback on what you were saying, I totally agree. I hear so many stories about financial aid. I didn't know what the registration complete sheet was.
Whew.
I did not know what that was.
Me neither. I didn't know either.
I so because I was on a music scholarship
Mhm.
and my folks had, prepared me to go to school, I always had it. And I remember not even keeping up with it. And somebody said, "Man, do you know what people go through to get this registration complete? You need to be," because then it started making sense once I started going to class and doing all that, because my issue was that I went to school for the band.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the boom, so I'm not really tripping about going to class. I'm not tripping too much about the academic stuff. I just needed to make sure I memorized my music and I remember the show. That was all I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And so then, and that was the other side for me, because I kind of grew up a certain way. I didn't understand what people did to send their children to school.
Yeah.
That was all new to me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I went to a HBCU, because it made a whole lot of sense, where you then saw people like Dr. Lackey and Dr. Robinson. She played trumpet too, believe
Really?
it or not. Yep, she
I didn't
did.
know
She was in the
that.
band. Yep.
Okay.
So you actually saw people that cared,
Yeah.
from like the high admins like
Hmm.
Dr. Robinson all the way down to the people that worked in the calf.
Hmm.
Like, they actually cared about us as people,
They
and
did.
they wanted us to finish and they wanted us to have some sense. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
So that was the big thing for me. And then seeing other people doing well in school, that really made a difference for me. When you were there, was the honors dorm still there?
Um, no.
No.
So
Okay.
it would be, and that was just dismantled. So that wasn't, far left. It was
Right.
at that point they had started putting the girls that were in honors in McAllister dorm.
What?
And
Really?
and what was weird is a lot of the guys that were in honors, they were like between Alexander. And for the most part, Alexander, to be honest, it was
Okay.
mainly Alexander dorm. And what is the other one? Not Dixon, the
Stewart.
Stewart. So
Yep.
it was those two. Because my freshman dorm was Alexander.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it was lit. That was
Right.
the best ever. I could tell you that was one of the best experiences I ever had, is being at Alexander. And I remember the day when I moved on campus, and how long it took to get your room assignment. And
Right.
it was hot. It was so hot that day. And I remember it was my mom, my dad, me, and my sister, and we were all standing in the lobby and waiting. And the line started outside.
Mm-hmm.
So my family, they're taking turns going to the car to sit in the air, but I gotta stay because this is for me. So I can't go
Right.
sit in the air. I got so we finally get inside, and I remember bright as day. Shout out to Brittany Dawson. She's a Zeta now, and it was her mom, and I think that was her daughter. They were standing in line, they were right behind us. And we finally get to the table, walk up to the table, and it was probably about 2.5, 3 hours to get to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally got a room assignment, which was written on a sheet of paper off of a pencil this year. And I'm like, yo, like, we waited this long for this. Walk through and, handed everybody a room assignment and got a room. Um, and then we went to the car, and then I remember my sister's friends that she went to Powell with, Powell Elementary, I mean Powell Middle School, and Murrah High School with. They at the time they had just, I believe they just crossed, one crossed Zeta and one was an AKA, and
Okay.
they were like, "Girl, we'll get your stuff moved in. We don't worry about it." And they took such good care of me my freshman year. Jasmine, Circe, Antoinette, um, Chauncey, and they were so sweet to me my freshman year. I mean, there was nothing, there was no question that I couldn't ask. That freshman week, I didn't know anything about like different tickets and stuff like that to get into different stuff. They would just hand it to me automatically. Like, here you go. You'll
Wow.
need this for this. And it almost brings me to tears now because, like I said, the love that was there, it just was unmatched. Like,
Mhm.
I never missed anything. She told my parents, she was like, don't even touch nothing. Whatever's in your car, the Sigmas, they're gonna come get it. And they did. They
Nice.
cleared my mama and daddy's car so fast. And I remember my dad ended up hooking up a landline phone in the room. And I was like, you gotta know I'm gonna pull this out the wall when you leave. Like,
Right,
because
right.
what he did was he had his little Nokia phone, and he called the room phone with his to get to his phone so he'll have a phone number.
Okay.
He blew that phone in half. My phone rung all day and night, that room phone. I remember a guy walking, he was downstairs, he was screaming up to our dorms, and our rooms windows, and he was just like, yo, anybody got a landline phone? I need a landline phone. He was just screaming. So at the time, still one of my best friends to this day, Royce, she's my roommate, and she snatched the phone out the wall. She was like, "You can have this one," and she just dropped it out the window.
Wow.
I went home, and my dad is like, "I've been calling you." And I don't know what's wrong with that phone.
Oh. Wow.
You gotta give me another phone. But I mean, it was a true experience, even from move-in day to because I remember on move-in day, Murrah High School, we were just like, yo, it's so many of us. That night we was like, let's all go to Pizza Hut, because we did that while we were in high school. We would go to Pizza Hut, we would meet up
Okay.
at Raising Cane's, who all have jobs, while we were in high school. So because I worked at Hollister. I had like 3 jobs my senior year. I worked at Hollister, I worked at Coldwater Creek, and I worked at Indianola Pecan House, which used to be in the mall too. And we would go and Raising Cane's, or something Ruby Tuesday when it was in North Park, and we would just go kick it. So we
Uh-huh.
did it our freshman year as well. We would go um after moving, well, during move-in day that night, we went to Pizza Hut. We all met at Pizza Hut that night. And so it was just this thing of where sometimes it's a bit difficult for people to transition from high school to college.
Right.
You don't know what to expect. You don't know what people to hang around. Your discernment isn't really there yet.
Right.
So God blessed me to go to Jackson State and to be there with people that I was very close with and still close with to this day, that I could go and we could still hang. And the transition was nothing. It was so
Right.
easy to just flow into Murrah High School, class of 2007. We just graduated in May. Freshman, class of 2007. We're here together. And it flowed like water. And so to this day, I will always say I was meant to go to Jackson State.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. So I got to tell you, since you brought up the landline, this is a difference in the technology, if you will.
Yes. Yeah.
So I got to, so like I said, we 10 years apart. I went my first year because in Missouri, um, I think they changed it, but because my birthday was in September,
Same. Wait, September
right,
what?
September 18th.
Okay. I'm 25th. I was gonna say, hold
Okay.
on, though. Like,
Oh, wow.
it's just too many similarities for me.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So my grandmother is the 22nd, and
Wow.
My mother's the 22nd. My father's mother was the 30th. And my son is the 23rd. All
Wow.
September. Yeah, yeah.
My mother is the September 4th.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
she's a Virgo.
Yes.
Virgo. There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. Okay. So yeah. So I was September, but in Missouri they let you go ahead and start kindergarten. So I was always like younger than everybody in my class.
I was older. That's
Right.
crazy. Yeah, I had to
Right.
wait.
You
Yeah.
had to wait.
Yeah.
Right. So
Hmm.
they didn't have that, but I ended up being there at Jackson State in 97 because I went to Johnson C. Smith that first year and then transferred.
Yeah.
And then it ended up taking me 5 years to finish school. So it evened out.
Hmm.
But when I got there in 97, that's all it
Yeah.
was landline phones. We hadn't progressed to cell phone where everybody had a cell phone.
Right.
So when you got there, everybody, they would go to Walmart. You would go to Walmart and buy all the stuff to clean. Your parents would clean and do all that stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
people would buy landline phones
Yep.
when they got there. And uh you would put your landline phone in the room. But like what was dope, and it was all over campus, if you had call waiting.
Oh wow.
Oh, yo, that was
That
the
was
biggest
memory for
thing.
you. I see it.
That was big because you had a roommate. So
Mm,
if they were on the phone and someone was calling you, it was just busy. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But you had to pay extra for the call waiting.
Wow. I ain't have all that.
Right. So you had to go in the union where the
Okay.
mailboxes were,
Yes.
and you had to go there, and there was a window, somebody was there, and that's where you paid to get call
Wow.
waiting. Yup.
The what is it? The CF Moore? Was the CF
What's
Moore?
I think CF Moore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, was
Yeah.
because the
The
union,
first union.
the first union.
Yes.
Yes. And it
Yes.
had a bowling ring in there, a
Yes, it
bowling
did.
alley.
I took those classes, the bowling classes. Yes, it had a
Yeah.
subway, and then a place that looks like a gas station with no gas.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that was after, yeah, it
Okay.
was. See, when you say Subway, see, that was the other thing with us. We didn't have no food on campus.
Really?
So, oh no. So after the calf closed, you had to know somebody with a car.
Yeah.
And somebody with a car would take you to like, down the street to Subway, or
Yeah.
there was it was a whole bunch of stuff or whatever that street is.
Wingstop,
Yeah, yeah,
right
all of
there
that
on
stuff.
Ellis. Yeah.
Yeah, Ellis, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could go there, or uh did y'all still have the supercars like your
Yes,
ID?
we did. We
Okay,
sure did. That got us through.
that got you
That got
through.
us through.
So
Westland Plaza, going and getting some wings and rice from
and
Chinese spot.
you could use your supercar.
Yes, you use your supercard. Yes.
Yeah. So that was like my
Yeah.
second or third year. It wasn't when I
Okay.
got there that they could do that.
Okay.
But when you had your supercar, I remember there was like a Burger King not too far from campus,
Okay.
and you could start using it there. They were the first place.
Okay.
And man, it would be a line all the way out in the street
Hmm.
for Burger King, and then like more and more business started using the supercar. But yeah, boy, that was the days, man.
Of course, that was for us, the Burger King for y'all. That was Wingstop for us.
Wow,
So
really?
Wingstop, which was right down the way, we would go to Wingstop or we'll go to Westland Plaza. Because I grew up, because my uncle at the time, he lived in some apartments right over there by Westland Plaza,
Okay.
across from Provine. And so I had frequented the area, as a kid. So Westland Plaza would go over there, we could buy hair, braids,
What?
different
What?
stores that started picking it up because they were just like, yo, like, they want it in. So
Right.
they would update like lists where we could go. So
Oh,
then at this
wow.
point, we could go to not North Park, Metro Center, and we could go to certain stores and they would have a sign up that would say now accepting Supercard, and then it would
Wow.
say they're accepting the gold card from for Alcorn State.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, so you could go in and swipe, 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 and that means by the time a classic comes up, you fresh.
Right,
The outfit,
right.
you got fresh hair, you got you some shoes, you got your new purse. So I mean, it was that in itself was a culture in itself.
Yes.
Because even now today, they don't have, they call it Tiger Bucks, I think now, but they don't have Metro Center. You know,
It's
they don't
gone?
have, no, Metro Center is gone. Like Metro Center's been gone since like mid 2000s.
Really?
Yeah, Metro is out of there. Like, I mean, the building
Wow.
is there, but it's not, functioning.
Okay.
Over half
Okay.
the area isn't functioning, which is, it is super sad. But that whole area, I mean, coming from the club and we broke, but we trying to save our, Supercar. We going to McDonald's because they say
Right.
Supercar and they open and it's 2 o'clock
Right.
in the morning. Yeah, yeah. So when I say that in itself, that was a culture in itself. The Supercar era, the every single place on this block, Wendy's, McDonald's, you name
Oh,
it, Burger King, Captain D's, all these different
yeah.
places, if they take Supercard, we going there. And if they don't take Supercard, we not going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So even Piccadilly was taking Supercard that's behind the Metro. They were
Uh-huh.
taking Supercard at a point in time, and I would go there, and sometimes I would, me and my mama will go. Hey, I got Supercard. You want lunch? So
Right. Right.
everything. Yeah, that was for me. That was huge, and like I said, I feel like so many kids they don't, because this era is social media era.
Yeah.
There was this intimacy with the students that
Hmm.
was unmatched then versus now.
Right.
Because there's some things you won't see, it won't surface because it's not on video. It's word of mouth,
Right.
and that was enough for us. You can either say they lying or you can say tell the truth. There's no proof, and that's the best part
Right.
about it.
Right.
Because nobody, recorded anything back then. We just had fun. And I don't think kids understand the value of privacy, the value of um pure fun. That was sometimes. I mean, being at Jackson State, the only time I could really look out into the world outside of Jackson State is going into the library and get on the computer.
Wow.
Yeah, like going on there. YouTube had just become like super big where
It
everybody
just
knew about it.
started. Right.
Yeah, so everybody was on YouTube, and at that time, MP3 players, your little iPods or whatever, you could connect a USB to your iPod or your MP3 player. You could download music from YouTube. So I have videos. A young jock is going down.
Right.
That would be on my playing on my MP3 player headed to class because I just got that from the library for free.
Right.
So that type of stuff, me finding out that I could take my phone and I could connect it in front of somebody else's phone and they could send me a song. I didn't know that.
Hmm.
So my friend
Mm.
had took my phone. I said, "What are you doing?" And she was like, I want this song off your phone. I said, "But I still want it on mine." She's like, "No, we sharing it. I'm not taking it, we sharing it." Didn't know nothing about that. I didn't know
Right.
anything about hotspots. My friend, her service had went out. She didn't pay her bill. And so she was like, "Turn on your hotspot. What is that?" And so she was like, "Give me your phone." And she showed me, she was like, "When you do this and this and this and this, you hit this button, hotspot, boom, bam. Okay, what's the name of it? All right, and it's your hotspot." And then boom, look, I found it on my
You
phone. Wow.
connected.
And then boom.
Right.
So then she was like, "Look, I can watch whatever I want to watch now because of your hotspot." Didn't know nothing about that. So
That
it's you figuring out stuff just because you're around people that know. I had this whole phone to know half of what I had on my
right.
phone, on my MP3 player, on my iPod. I didn't know. And so, I mean, all of that was when we're speaking age, because you said what 97. So I was incoming 2007. There's still a lot of similarities
It
from
was.
then because, and then even being the kid next door to technology, because I grew up with, technology, with Apple, with MySpace, because MySpace was huge at the time.
It sure was.
Before, yes,
Yeah.
before Facebook, um, I was big on MySpace. So we are talking about like a timeline there that's undisputed. If I
Yeah.
could go back, because I remember somebody asked me, if you could go back, would you change anything? I wouldn't change a penny
Right.
about the time I was at Jackson State.
Right.
I wouldn't change nothing. I had the time of my life. And like I said, I'll keep saying it. I know I said it before, but I thank God I went to Jackson State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You you brought back a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because 97 the internet was still like, it was a little bit of a myth.
Ugh.
So those first 2 years, 97, 98,
Mhm.
people would go, I believe, I want to say the People's Building. It was the engineering building,
People's, yeah.
and that was like on the other side of the street of the AAC, right? It
Yes.
was that side of, okay, yeah, and then the band room was right there. Okay. It used to be packed in People's because people will want to get on the computers to use email.
Oh.
That they was like, man, you got an email? We was like, what? They were like, you got an
Oh,
email? And it was like, you got a what? And then they said, man, you can send somebody a message and they'll get it. And it
wow.
was like, what? So you had to go to People's at a certain time, because if you didn't, it would just be packed in there. And people would just be on email sending messages.
Yeah.
So it was even before like chat, instant chat.
Yeah. I am. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you
Yeah.
would send, so that was like the bomb, like, yo, like you had call waiting, and if you had an email, yo, like you was on another level, you know what I'm saying? And you brought it back talking about the supercar, because I mean, I remember it was Burger King. Well, they were
Mhm.
first, but that makes sense where it started to evolve. I think my last year, I moved off campus, and then I didn't see as much going on campus other than when I would go up there to go to class.
Okay.
But yeah, it was fun. And I mean, so many Jackson State folks, or just HBCU folks in general, like, they have so many like fun stories. But yeah, you took it back, you know what I'm saying? Because the last time I was in Jackson was 2015.
Oh.
Yeah, so I saw the campus was totally different. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything was different.
Yeah.
Were the plots there when you were there? Like
Mhm.
the brush had a tree in
Yes.
front of, okay, like right
Mhm.
across from the Union.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, all that's different now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Somebody
saying?
told me that the old Union isn't there. I don't know how true that is, because I haven't been on Jackson State's campus since, I think, 2020, when I
Okay,
came back from LA. I think that was
okay.
the last time I was, 2020 or 2021, where I actually was on campus. And it was I just went because I missed it so much. I had, did a little walk around, but I haven't been on campus in a while. But it's a lot. A lot has changed since I've
Mhm.
even, been to Jackson State, because while I was there, my freshman year, we still had the old Union, and it was a little restaurant in there.
What, a
It wasn't like,
restaurant?
it wasn't no it was like a sports grill looking type of thing, but it wasn't nothing like looking like, oh my god,
Oh,
restaurant. It was
okay.
a sports grill.
Yeah,
So
it
it was
was. Yeah, I
TVs on
remember
the
that.
wall.
You're right.
Yeah. And the
Okay.
best thing that they would have would be the chicken strips. The chicken strip,
Yeah. Yeah.
period. So we get about four of those, and they also, took super card. Um, I would get my mail from out of there.
Yeah.
If anything was mailed to me, would be in there.
There you go.
The death trap of a elevator, it would stop right here. And so I guess I hadn't seen what is that movie? Final Destination. We would crawl out, we would get up and get out of the elevator, because it would like stop like right here.
Wow.
So you could kind of see the people waiting feet here. So we would kind of crawl out. And I remember I was like, it could have just shot back up and could have crushed all of us.
Right. Right.
These were the times we were living in, and our elevator on Alexander Girls' side used to do the same thing. So you're talking about a time where too, Rossi and myself, we stayed in a room where the heat was on year round. So we used to go and complain like, look, it's hot. Like, I mean, we would come down just wet, face wet, clothes.
Wow.
We asked about this last month. Where's the maintenance man? So the
Right.
lady was just like, here you go. And she hands me this thick roll of duct tape. Put that up there and it'll stop it from coming out.
Wow. No, she didn't.
We took it and we went up there and we had to stand in the chair and just taped it up. And I remember late nights, it would get so hot, we would wake up out our sleep coughing. And we would be sitting in the window. We'll open the window, and our window wouldn't stay open. So we would get like an old pizza box, and we would sit it in the window.
Wow.
And we'll just put on like some shorts and a little shirt, and we'll just be sitting. We got class in like 3 hours, 4 o'clock.
Right.
We would sit in the window like this because it was that hot. And I remember me and her looking at each other, and we like, one day we gonna look back, and we just gonna let this is illegal. Like what?
Right. Right.
And when I say that heat would blow, you had to put extra tape because the tape would bust open.
Oh, wow.
Great heat. But those are the type of memories that when we think about it, because we were very pretty. So before we went on campus, we were still like shopping from a finger hut, little
the little brochure.
Yeah, the little magazines you flip
Right.
through there and find out what you want, call and tell them you want SKU number 0878.
Right.
And I remember we had both ordered canopies for our bed. We had, decided, because mind you, Royce and I, we go back to Northwest Jackson. She came to Northwest Jackson 7th grade. I was there from 6 to 8.
Okay.
And we were like, we want a pretty room. We don't want just any kind of room. So I was like, yo, Finger Hut got these, these canopies. And so we look, and I get a leopard one. She gets a purple one. Her side of the room is purple and pink. My side of the room is leopard, red, and brown. When I say this is, people do not understand the level of fun, innocence. There was just this thing there that only you understood. Your parents bring you on campus. They're dropping you off. They already know what time it is. My daddy did not want me going to Jackson State. He was blown. He was so mad. He was upset. He was so mad. Every time you look on television, it's something that he would be going off about the fact I'm going on Lynch Street all the time.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is true.
Yeah. And I was there around the time Barack Obama, was trying to get into office.
Oh, okay.
Frequenting the HBCUs. At that time, Uncle Rush came to our school. So many different people came to our school. I remember you asked about, experiences that I remember at Jackson State. Barack Obama, Nikki Giovanni, I got to interview her. May she rest in peace. I got to interview cousin Jeff, and I sent you that as well in 2009. I mean, I got to experience so many different eras at that point in time. And him not knowing that it's not just Jackson State and just the name Jackson State. If you're here, it's an experience here.
Yeah.
Like at that time, that was BET Black College Tour.
Yes.
They came to Jackson State. That's where I learned who Future was. He wasn't as big as he is now.
Now, right.
doing the whole tour. He was on that tour. 2 Chainz was on that tour. He wasn't 2 Chainz at the time. He was excuse the language, but he was Titty Boy at the time.
Right, right, right.
So, and he came to Jackson State and performed live. So many artists that were trying to find their place in, you know, the hip hop world, they were on that college tour. You know, Pink Oil Moisturizer was on the tour and was bringing
Wow.
free samples. Um, African Pride, you know, the Bronner Brothers, everybody was on that tour. They would take us into the gym, into the AAC.
Yep.
It's about 50 tables in there. And you come in and bring you a bag and you fill up your bag with hair products and lotion, shea butter, and you know, things. You
Right.
just like, wow, this is free. And you t-shirts. That era of all black everything, that's when BET was at its pinnacle. That's 106 in Park. You know, that
Yep.
what was it? It was called, what was it? Midnight, was it? Well, Midnight Love.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that though those years, that's the years that I was at Jackson State. And it was
Mhm.
coming out of that era, but it was still in that era. Miss Sita's World, all of that was on BET at the time.
Yeah.
All of that came to Jackson State, you know, on that Black College tour. So the culture of promoting and bigging up HBCUs, I was there in that during that era. So when people speak on HBCUs, I take it very personal because the time that I was there, anybody that had anything to do with uplifting HBCUs or promoting HBCUs, they threw their all
Right.
into that. So that means we bring in BET. You know, we're bringing whoever, however, whenever. You know, we're bringing Uncle Rush to come and speak about, you know, Obama, to get us all to vote for Obama. That means we're bringing who else came to Jackson? That was around the time I Love New York was on TV at the time.
Oh my God. Are you
Uh,
serious?
yes, I Love New York, but right before I Love New York, it was what is his
Flavor
name?
of love.
Flavor of Love.
Flavor
Yes.
of love.
So
Yep.
then she got her spin off. So all the guys at one point that was on the show with her, they were sitting on the plaza one day.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute, those are the contestants from I Love New York. And so people started flocking to them. It was like just a random Tuesday, about 2
Right.
o'clock p.m. And
Right.
they were just sitting outside on the plaza. And I remember seeing it and I was just like, what they doing here? And you going and shaking their hands. And hey, it was a time where, because there also before this, there was a time where you'll watch Martin and he's wearing a Gremlin shirt,
Yep.
a Gremlin sweater.
Yep.
He's wearing a Hampton sweater.
Yep.
You know, uh, Living Single, which I was watching the other night. You know, Queen Latifah, she would wear, you know, some form of a HBCU sweater. So HBCUs has always been, and one thing about it, and I know I'm sorry if I'm getting off subject here, but it's so much to speak on when we're talking about, you know, HBCUs and Jackson State University. Jackson State would do their Miss Jackson State pageants, and I remember some of the girls, because I covered one of them as a as a news reporter
Okay.
for for Jackson State. And I remember I did the whole behind the scenes thing. I had my Apple iPod that I just bought, and I had recorded the whole thing in the back of getting hair done, all of that. I remember one of the questions was, um, is Jackson State still relevant? Not Jackson State, HBCUs.
Mm.
Is HBCU still relevant? And I remember each young lady would have to come up and they would have to speak and tell why is HBCUs, why are HBCUs relevant, still important, still relevant. And they would give their reasoning as to why HBCUs are important, relevant. And every reason was true. As long as black people exist,
Right.
HBCUs, and even after, but there would never be an after because there will always be an us. HBCUs will always be relevant, always be important. And so I still feel that way to this day we will always be relevant, always important. If that's Jackson State, if that's Alcorn State, that's Grambling, if that's Alabama A&M, wherever we are, it's always important, always relevant. And when we're looking at the times of where people are discussing the dismantling of, DEI and pulling back on monies for Black colleges and things like
Yeah.
that, they don't understand if Black people are some of the highest contributors when it comes to money, spending money. We'll pour back into, our homes, which is HBCUs. I don't ever think it will go away. I don't ever think that it would be irrelevant to anyone. I always preach it to my smaller cousins. If you think about going to college, always have a HBCU under your belt.
In your mind, yep.
Yeah, always think about a HBCU first. You want to, that would be the only time that you get to be exclusive with your own,
Yes.
to
Because
be
you notice,
your
I'm
own.
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say was to piggyback on what you were saying is
Mhm.
because when you go and what ends up happening, what I've seen, when you
Mhm.
go to a PWI,
Mhm.
you then look for other Black folks or other people that you
Exactly.
comfortable with. So
Yeah.
then you have a whole bunch of people that's I saw a Netflix series, Dear White People. I saw that.
Yes, I've seen
And
it. Yeah.
okay, and so they talked about how a lot of the students there were looking for dorms that were like an all Asian dorm or an all Black dorm and stuff like that, or people joining the Divine Nine at
Yeah.
PWIs and stuff. So it's like you naturally want to be with your people. So it's just like, well, the whole school, like, you know what I'm saying? That you could
Hmm.
go to somewhere where the whole school is like that versus like getting into a smaller group. And so that was one of the things that I noticed when I was coming along. And people tell me now, when they go to a PWI, they look to have like a gospel program or they look to
Yeah.
have all these stuff that's like for our whole school with us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so I got all excited talking to you. I lost I lost where I was going. Okay.
Well, my bad. That was on me though.
No, no, that's cool because you took it back. You
Yeah.
started bringing up TV shows
Hmm.
real quick.
Yeah.
J- Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
The whole dorm, you would hear people's reaction
Yeah.
because like the whole campus was watching it.
Yeah.
So when someone would come out there and be like, oh, like the whole. So man, you took me back. Like you brought up something and it made me think of something that was like before that. Like you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So real quick,
Uh-huh.
um, what was your major? And I know that you brought
Mhm.
it up. And then what made you want to do that major? What did you feel like you wanted to do when you finished school?
Okay. So my major for undergrad was mass communications with a concentration in broadcast journalism. So
Okay.
I wanted to be on the news. I had done it at Murrah High School. I was the president from my junior year, my senior year at Murrah High School. I would cover whatever at Murrah. I'd be running up down the hallways. I would go to the games. I got a camera and a microphone in my hand. And so I knew, even as a kid, I knew I wanted to be on TV. I
Mhm.
always felt like I was going to be famous. As an itty bitty girl, going back to the Finger Hut little magazine, little catalog, I asked my mom to get me the set with the blow up furniture,
Oh
it
wow.
glowed in the dark, and then the stars that you put on the ceiling and glow at night. So my
Yeah.
whole room was glowed up. I was one of those. That was me. So when I went to Murrah, I'm like, yo, they got a news station up in here. I'm there. Then my homeroom is the teacher. Shout out again to Miss Shaw. May she rest in peace. Martha Shaw. She was the one that saw, like, she would pick who she wanted to be in TSA, which is Technology Students Association again. And then she would be like, she would pull out of that who she wanted to be on the news station.
Okay.
And so she was like, you want to do the news? I said, yeah, I want to do the news. Yes. And so, she would let me know, she'll show me how to use the cameras. And at the time, just as Jackson State would do the exact same thing at that time, they would get the cameras that would be donated from like WLBT,
Oh wow.
WAPT, and I'm talking big chunky cameras. You
Yeah.
put up on your shoulder like that.
Yeah.
And then you got your camera, and you, especially if you're a one-man band, you got to put up a tripod, set up the camera. And then you got to put on the lapel, and then put a lapel on whoever you interviewing, and the whole thing. I loved it. I thought that was just the funnest, coolest thing. I'm on TV, and then I'm in control because I got the questions. I can control the tone. It was my thing. So I'm finna go somewhere and do this. And I wanted to go to Columbia as well, because at the time Columbia was humongously known for mass comm.
Yeah.
So I did it all through high school, went to Jackson State, did it at Jackson State. But then I also have a very sweet spot for sports.
Okay.
Both parents play basketball.
Right.
My
Right.
dad played all the way until he was 50. He doesn't play now, but up until he was 50, he used to play at a 50 over league. And if
Wow.
anybody knows about the infamous Rogers sisters that played Murrah High School, Diamond Rogers, Raven Rogers, it's about, I think about 3 or 4 of them. Some of the coldest women that you've ever seen play basketball in your life. Their dad, Red, played basketball. He played with my dad.
Wow.
And they all played 50 and over league, and they look like young men out there. They're not playing.
Yeah.
They going blow for blow. And so that's the era that I come from, of real raw. Last night, I just went to see Juju Watkins play.
Okay.
And that's the fun part about living in LA. I don't miss a game.
Yeah.
I got my ticket already to see Angel Reese to come when she comes here to play. I got my tickets already. I was born and raised in basketball, and trenched deep into the sports culture in Mississippi. And so I was like, I gotta put this somewhere into my major, like I don't know where, but I have to. So after I graduated in 2011, I came in August 2007, graduated summer August 2011.
Okay.
Then I had to think, because my mom, excuse me, she was on my tail about going to grad school. And when you gonna apply? When you applying for grad?
Right.
Mom, I've been in school since kindergarten. Give me a break. I'm tired. Kindergarten to graduating college, that's a lot of school. No break. Let me live. Then you have PTSD. After you graduate, you wake up because you think you missed an assignment.
Right.
I'm not even in school right now. So in my mind, it kept happening. I'm jumping out my sleep. I think I missed something. I go ahead and apply to Jackson State again, grad school.
Right.
Let
Right.
me go back. So I ended up going for a master's in sports management.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to mix the two. Kari Champion, I saw her last night at the game, because she is a UCLA graduate, and it was UCLA v USC. And Juju Watkins and Kiki ate up and spit out UCLA last night.
Yeah, they did. They
Yes.
really did.
You had the Miller siblings there, my favorites, Cheryl and Reggie Miller there.
Yeah.
And I was, it took everything in me to not let my intrusive thoughts take over and run across the court and go give them away, because I used to have y'all on my wall as a kid.
Right.
So I remember adding that in. I was like, okay, if I add this in, because I wanted to, at some point be a sports agent.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Let that be either, MLB or NBA or NFL. That was my 3. Either 3 of those, I would love to be a sports agent. So, I'm like, if I can put that under my belt, I can do some things. I can shake some things up. So I already have, my degree in mass comm. I used to do radio for Jackson State. I did regular news at Jackson State. I would do anything that was on site. They'll call me, Jackie, come over here to the East Center, come pick up a camera. I need you to cover this. And it was myself or my friend Candace Sims, or my friend Amber Thomas, we would go pick up a camera. We'll go get a mic, some lapels, and then a camera. I mean, a mic, and then we
Mhm.
would go, and we would have this big old bag. We would go with our book bag on. We would go. We would walk, whatever we need to do to get there. And I remember that hunger. In that moment, I was just like, man, we are very good at what we do. And so I remember this guy. He came back. He used to go to Jackson State. He graduated, and he was on the news. And he came back to speak to us. And after class was over with, he put me to the side and he was like, "What you want to do after you graduate?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking deep. I really want to go to ESPN, and I want to be a newscaster, even if that means going to Atlanta and going to CNN, to the CNN building, and being a newscaster there. I want to sit on the biggest stages for this." And I remember him telling me my options. Joe, he pissed me off so bad because he told me, "Okay, this your option. Go to Greenville, you go there for 4 years." I'm looking at him like, "Are you crazy?" Like, he automatically upset me. He was just like, "You go to Greenville, you can go there, you go to a news station 4 years. You do that for 4 years, you can go wherever you want to go."
Wow.
I said, "Is that the plan?" He looked at me, "Yeah, I did it." And he looked at me, dead and said, "He did it. I'm not doing that." And I got all the family in the world in Greenville. Shout out to Greenville, Mississippi. I was not going and
I'm
sitting in
not going right.
college. I already went to Jackson State knowing I did not
Right.
want to be in Jackson or H4. We're gonna go to Greenville.
Right.
Oh, yes. So I said, okay, it has to be something else. So then after getting my master's and going through that, I remember Dr. Williams. At the time, he was the chair of the sports management program, and he was just like, he told us straight up, you do your internship, you can't get paid. Find out you're getting paid, you're getting kicked out the program. That was
Wow.
something, because the internship that I did have, they wanted to pay me. And I kept telling them, I was like, I would love to get paid. I can't, or they would kick me out the program. And I was like, what?
Wow.
I interned at a country club in Jackson.
Okay.
And so after that, he also told us we couldn't do our internship outside of Mississippi. He said he's tired of people leaving Mississippi with their talent. If
Wow.
you
That's
left
deep.
Mississippi and went somewhere else for the internship, you would get kicked out of the program. I was hurt. So
Wow.
what I would do, I got connected with a place called a company called Sports Management Worldwide,
Okay.
SMWW. And I ended up getting a certification through them. And through them, you could, apply for different places to go to do, what was it? It was this, I just get together at different sports venues, like at the Pelicans, or you would meet at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, or you could go Miami Dolphins, which I did both. So I would meet a lot of people at the Pelicans, and then you would get like cheap seats to be able to sit on the third row at the game after the whole get
Ooh.
together was over with. So I brought my mom at one point, and then the second year I went, I brought my sister with me. And beautiful seats. And then I remember I got an opportunity to be picked by, what is his name? Don Schuler, I think that's what it is. That
The
used
coach.
Yes, and he was basically the person for Miami at one point.
Yeah, because he had the undefeated season.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I applied to go to this big event in Miami with the Miami Dolphins. And I went, and I got picked out of they said over 30,000 applicants. They had only picked 100 of us. And he
Wow.
personally sent a letter and invited me there. Like, yo, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
So I was in grad school at that time, and I was supposed to graduate in December, which I did, but the actual event was in November. And so I went to that, and it was strenuous.
Really?
So we all stayed at the Don Shula Hotel. And then they had a shuttle that'll pick you up at 6:30 a.m. Everybody on the shuttle, they'll take you to the Miami Dolphins, to the stadium. At the time, they were doing a whole like revamp of the stadium. It was a multi-billion-dollar revamp they were doing. They kept talking about it the whole time we were there. So we would get there, and then it's all these people jump off of these buses. You'll walk in. As soon as you walk in, they'll give you your lanyard and with your little name on it.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to stop, and because they're doing a photo shoot of every person that comes in. So you have to sit down in front of all these people. They'll tell you till you turn to the front, to the left, to the right. They take all these beautiful pictures with this backdrop. And you walk out. So that's to identify you when they're going through the process, the hiring process. Because
Right.
if they want you, you'll get hired. So you're going to these different rooms. You know, it may be a locker room, or it may be like this conference room, but you're going to these different rooms, and there's a person in there talking to you about sales. Somebody in there talking to you about being an agent. You know, all these different people there in these different rooms, and you ask questions and they see if they like you. So at the time, on one of those that you're showing, one of my graduation invites, the one in
Yeah.
the brown, just that picture by itself, I had this guy from Vicksburg. He developed this, he developed resumes for me. And he took that picture of me in the brown. He put it on the side, that picture right there.
Okay.
Just the picture by itself. He took that picture and he put it on the side of my resumes. And he made my resumes like brown and white and
Ooh.
black. And then he got me business cards with this picture. So because you had to bring a lot
Wow.
of resumes, because each class you would go in, you would hand them a resume when you walked in. And
Okay.
so I had my resume, and then I would have my business card, and I would paper clip it to the resume, and I'll put it on the desk. So you can't miss who I am. So when I
Right.
raise my hand and ask a question, you have my resume on the table. You can connect it that way. Nobody else had that. So
Nice.
shout out to him. He did that for me. He got it quick for me. Like that was a 3-4 day turnaround for me. That he did that. And so I remember going in, you ask questions, you know, and this and this and this. And then they would pick you to go to the next class. It was crazy. It was a crazy time. Like
Wow.
you learn the rules while you're there. And you're
Mhm.
there from about, when you'll make it about 6:50, you'll make it to the stadium. You're there till about 5 p.m. So we got to sit in the suites, the skyboxes, to see 2 games.
Oh.
And that second game, that Sunday, I left that Sunday morning. I was ready to go home. We were there like 4 or 5 days. But I was upset because at the time I was obsessed with Cam Newton. He was playing with the Panthers, and they were going to play the Panthers, Miami Dolphins,
Oh,
through the
wow.
Panthers that Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see him so bad, but I was like, yo, I'm ready to go home. I'm tired.
Right.
It's too much. So I remember you get interviews. After a while, you get interviews with different people. And so that next day, what they would do is they'll put you in a room, and the room is getting slimmer and slimmer.
Right.
So they'll call your name, they give you an envelope. That means that you got an interview with somebody. And I ended up getting 2 envelopes. So everybody in the room thought it was the issue. I was like, I went up to her, I said, I have, y'all call my name twice, I have 2 envelopes, So she said, oh. And so she didn't even know. So she was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's an issue. She said, just step to the side really quick and I'll get somebody to come talk to you. So they called me out of that room. And a lady tells me, she was like, you're supposed to have 2. You have 2 interviews. Everybody doesn't get 2 interviews.
Wow.
I was like, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's 2 interviews for me. So I was like, okay. So I go back in. I'm cheesing. Face happy. I go in and I sit down, and I have 2 different interviews. One was for interviewing for sales, and the other one was interviewing for being an assistant when it comes to like recruiting or something like that. And so this was the thing. They, gave me the interview thing. I had an interview with both, and then I flew back home the next morning.
Okay.
This is around the time LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and
D-Wade.
D Wade were playing with Miami. And then
Okay.
they did their whole reveal when they sat down in their press conference.
Yeah.
So one of the girls that was there, she worked at um the ticket booth for, what was it, the Miami, what were they, Heat.
The Heat. Yeah.
So me and her got close quick, and she was just like, yo, I'm leaving early because I gotta go and work in the ticket booth there. And she was like, if you want to go, you got a free ticket. I was
Wow.
like, she goes, you got to leave with me.
Oh wow.
My
Okay.
2 interviews, I couldn't go because I had another interview later that night. And I remember crying in the bathroom. I wanted to go so bad. Because to this day, I am a humongous LeBron James fan. And I wanted to go so bad.
Mhm.
And so I remember as time went on, I went back home. They called my phone and I put it on speakerphone. My mom is listening. And they were just like, we want to offer you a position with the Miami Dolphins. So they tell me everything. They run down everything. They want to pay me $12 an hour to live in Miami.
What? Are you sure?
$12.
It's like 12. Is that like a one job, but then it's another job? It's like
No, no,
another.
no.
It's one
That's
one
it.
job.
One job, $12 an hour.
What is this after 2011?
This was 13, I think.
Oh my god! In
So I was
Miami?
and at this time I was working as a paralegal, full part-time, and I was working as a fragrance vendor, which I've done for about 8-9 years as a fragrance vendor, and at different malls, different stores at Bell Dealers, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Neiman
Okay.
Marcus, you name it. And I was getting paid very well, like double that, a little bit double that. I'm getting this now. You ain't gonna move to Miami. So I told him, I was like, wait a minute, what? I won't be. Where you want me to live, in the slums? I can't live
Wow.
off $12 an hour in Miami. And so
Right.
they were trying to give me ideas, and so I had to turn it down because I couldn't think of anything else that would help me if I knew. Because they were telling you will work probably like 16-hour days. I can't even have a second job to pay my rent because I'll be working. And so I remember that in itself. I was all right. I got to find another route. Every offer isn't a good offer.
Right.
Because I'm not desperate, number one. And if I'm in Mississippi making this, I'm not moving to Miami and
Right.
making it.
Right.
So, I had to make some changes, and shout out to Bernard Moore with Bernard Moore Sports Management in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi. He was very intricate in me, getting different little jobs here and there when it came to mass comm stuff, and with sports and all those different things in Jackson. So it took a minute. I didn't know where I wanted to go after that. It was very difficult trying to break into the space of being a sportscaster.
Mm.
And then I started seeing people like Kari Champion, and I'm just like, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. And then, I'm seeing I believe Lisa Leslie at one point, she kind of had like a little segment. I think it was on ESPN or Sports Center.
Mm.
And but these are all women who have been in the WNBA and things like that. I haven't done that.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it look even harder to break into those spaces when you have not done what they've done and on the level they've done it on.
Right.
So, you're getting a little bit nervous and you're like, I don't know, I don't know. And so you just get into the work world, after that, and see what happens from there. And so yeah, those were my two majors. It was broadcast journalism, mass communications, concentration broadcast journalism, and then my master's in sports management.
So how did you end up in LA?
For my birthday 2016, I was like, yeah, I want to go to LA. I had been in San Diego. I have family in San Diego.
Oh, nice.
And
Diego's nice.
it's
It's
beautiful.
nice. People
It,
don't really know it because they think of LA, but Diego is nice.
and you see, they say it's the best weather in the US, and a lot of people
Yeah.
with like autoimmune deficiencies and things like that they moved to San Diego because of the weather,
It's
because
nice.
it does better the health.
Yeah.
So I had been there, um, and I was like, yo, like I want to live there at some point. But I've
Mhm.
never been to LA before. I haven't been to Hollywood. And always wanted to, even as a kid, I used to work at Hollister. And at Hollister is this big, huge TV behind you, and it's like this live cam of Santa Monica Beach. And so I was always, look, I want to be there. I want to go so bad. So I went for my birthday, around September 25th, 2016. I went for my birthday, had the time of my life. Had a couple of friends that lived here that was like, y'all should come back, live with us. It'll be fun. And I'm like, did it, came back again, right back in January, just to chill. Had a good time and ended up moving in February of 2017. Um, did it. It was hard around that time because it's a rude awakening. Like,
Yeah.
but I kept a job. When I say I had like 3 or 4 jobs at a time, like one thing about it, Jackie gonna keep a job.
Yeah.
And I am not afraid of working. I am a fan of working. I'm not one of those people that like cry because it's Monday. I'm happy because it's Monday.
Right.
There's a bill paid and a new pair of shoes. Like
Right.
I love it. I'm one of those people. I love working. I'm not against working at all. So um did it from 17 to COVID 2020
Mhm.
and went back home. I'm also not one of those people that are afraid to go home. My ultimate goal is to buy a humongous compound in somewhere in Mississippi and live in Mississippi. That's my main goal.
Mhm.
Like, I love Mississippi. I'm not one of those people. Yes, my plan is to go back home
Mhm.
and go back home in a major way. I don't want to just go back home.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
I want to. I am very afraid of animals. All of them. So, but I do want to farm. I don't mind, paying people to come and tend to my farm for me. I want chickens, horses, cows, sheep, you name it. I want it.
Mhm.
And I want to live on this big piece of land, mind my business. You be very natural, big old hair, and mind my business. That's what I want. That's where my peace is. So, um, when I decided to come back, I moved to Florida. Um, it's right outside Pensacola. It's Gulf Breeze. GB is right outside of Pensacola. So it's basically the beach town,
Okay.
the beach area. And so I moved there in 2023.
Okay.
And one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. I mean, just the peace that passes all understanding. When I
Right.
say I'm just around people who are just floating through life. And it was the community I was in, a lot of older people. So,
Uh,
there's a peace there.
yeah.
So I lived there until last year, 2024, September. So I was there
Mhm.
I was in Gulf Breeze a full year. The day that I left was the day of Hurricane Helene. I don't know if you remember that
Mm.
hurricane or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I have been watching. I'm a big fan of Reed Timmer on YouTube. He is a storm chaser / meteorologist, and if he comes in your neighborhood, that means that it's bad. And so we had a hurricane right before that, and I was watching him live. He drove right past my house.
Wow.
So I knew it was bad because he only chases when it's horrible.
Right. Right.
So Helene came around and he was chasing that one. My mom came to help me finish moving. And I remember, just watching, sitting in the bathroom, the door closed. I don't know what to do, this and this. All my stuff is packed. And nothing really happened. The day I left, it was Hurricane Helene, but in that area that I was in, it was sunshine.
Mm.
It was, and I knew it was meant for me to get on that plane and get to LA.
Right.
And so last year made it to LA. Got to LA and I'm here. Um I I'm a free spirit, and I moved to um depending on how I feel, I'll get up and I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I not yet do I have, children or husband at this point in my life. So it gives me an extra jolt of freedom to say,
Yes, to do what you want.
yeah, it's like, okay,
Roll.
yeah,
Roll with it. Let me
the
tell
world
you.
is my oyster. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just like, you know what? Let me go ahead and go. Let me see. I feel like I didn't finish what I started. And I'm one of those people. I have to finish what I start.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, let me pick back up, and let me get back to LA and let me see, what it is. And I'm here. And another best decision was moving to LA. So yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's cool. So we're coming to the end of the interview. I'm really glad I met you, and
Yes,
we gotta stay in touch, especially oh, real quick, are you going to Vegas?
I am.
Okay. All
Yes,
right.
yes.
So I'm trying to figure out what to do because the tickets gonna sell tomorrow.
Hmm.
But I had a suite at the Honda, and I don't know if I could go back to the regular seats.
Yeah, I
You
know
know what
the
I'm saying?
feeling.
Oh, I
I know
don't
the
know.
feeling.
Oh,
Look,
I don't
you'll
know
get a
what to do.
suite. If you get a suite, you let me know. We'll work something
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
because what I found out was
Hmm.
all the NFL it's ran by the NFL offices.
Okay.
So it's the same people you connect with to get the suite. So when I met all the people to get the ones for the Honda, it was with the NFL people. And so it's the same price and the same everything for all the NFL stadiums.
Okay.
So it's going to be there in the Alliance Stadium and it's all the same people. So you go through the same process and all of that. So I'm trying to decide, you know what I'm saying, like what to do, especially for us, because we could drive there
Hmm.
and then like it won't be as much because I got a lot of family flying in. And so they already spending a lot of money on tickets and stuff.
Okay.
So I'm trying to decide what to do. I hadn't figured it out yet, but I was like, man, I want to have this experience again, but with like, going to see Jackson State because I try to expose my family to as much HBCU stuff as possible. You
Yes.
and I grew up in it,
Yes.
but out here, it's a totally different game.
It
And
is.
and I didn't expect to have kids and all that stuff out here. So
Hmm.
I try to do my best to get them involved. So when the Honda came, it was exciting. When the Boom came out here, it was really exciting. So they got to see it.
Hmm.
And now Vegas is coming up. So we definitely going.
Yeah.
How to tick this thing. So I'm gonna let you know about that
Yeah. Keep
as
me in the
well.
loop with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because it would
definitely
be
be
cool.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll be there.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's been real good talking to you, and we got to
Same.
keep up with everything.
Yes.
Is there anything that you have to say, any advice, any shout outs, or anything that you wanted to say to land the interview?
One of my biggest things and the reason as to why I've been um kept thus far is the motto, do it scared, do it anyway.
Wow.
So
Okay.
a lot of things that I've done, I've been terribly scared, but I knew I was sure. So regardless of if you're scared, whatever the case may be, if you're sure, let that be the reason you do it. So that's for anybody out there. If it's something that you are afraid of or whatever, but you know that you're supposed to and you need to, just make the jump. It'll definitely be worth it.
That's a good one. That's actually a good one. I was actually scared. The more stuff I was scared to do,
Hmm.
and then I later did it. I'm thankful that I did it. And it's crazy how that works sometimes where it's like, okay, I meant to do this, I'm gonna just jump right in it. That's never been the case for me. I was scared to start this podcast. I
Yes.
remember I had set a lot of stuff up, and I remember like an hour before I was about to go in there, I was like, nah, I don't really need to do this. You know what I'm saying? I had that doubt.
Yeah.
So I really like that. Because I'm trying to tell my kids the same thing. Like if you don't feel like doing something, push yourself and do it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That type of thing. So
Yes.
do it scared though. I like that. That's pretty good. That's pretty
Yes.
good.
Yes.
All right. So again, let me give you a round of applause. Here you can
Thank
see
you.
I'm a little graphic here,
Thank
and
you
then
so
I
much.
gotta add the music to it here. Hold on, here we go.
Yes.
I'm doing all of this on my own here. So
Shout out to you for that so much.
yeah, there you go. I'm still working on the transition with the thing. This is like a new system I'm using.
Yeah. You're
And so
good.
yeah, with that, yeah. So I see now how like when people have TV shows, like as you know, like
Yeah.
it's a it's a sound person, it's a
Yep.
camera person, it's a whole. So I'm learning all of this stuff, and I do everything by myself. So
Yeah.
so
One
so
man band.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is cool. So yeah, I appreciate you. And I'm glad I saw you because just like and you were talking about Jasmine. I haven't met her in person yet,
Hmm.
but I met her husband. Her husband's a bruh,
Yes.
and he had his jacket on, and so that's just pretty much how I am. If I see somebody with Jackson State stuff on, especially out here,
Yes.
I'm gonna go speak.
Yeah.
Uh, so
100%.
he had his Q jacket on, and so I actually met
Yeah.
him and talked to him, and his suite was actually right next to mine at
Okay.
the Honda. And he
Okay.
said, "Yeah, my wife put all of this together," and I was like, "What?" I'm like, "What you mean? Like, what you
Yeah.
talking about?" And so,
Yeah.
and
Shout out
then
to
I
her.
said, so I say I went to Jackson State. He said that's where she went. I was like, come on, dog, like for real, like
Yes,
so.
indeed.
Yep. So it's a small world because I mean I'm just now meeting her, just now finding out, and you already know. So she was there at Jackson State after you, right?
No, we came in the same time.
Oh, really?
2007. Yeah, she was in SGA with my friend Amber Thomas. They were both in SGA together. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Student
Okay.
Government Association. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that is something. Okay, so yeah, so what's funny is just like I reached out to you to do the interview,
Hmm.
because she's associated with Honda and all that. I actually got to contact them just to talk to her and or whatever. So I was like,
Hmm.
dang. So I'll probably be doing the same thing with her, but
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
also give your information to some other folks. I don't know if you know 14K. Have you seen 14K? They starting to put stuff out now. They're
No, I
like
haven't seen them. What
so
is?
they're like Jackson State 14K 1400K club.
Oh, 1400 Club.
1400 club.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So them, I think there, and then also it's a podcast. I think it's the same thing. But it's three people. It's Terrell, Danielle, and Toby. I actually was in the band with them.
Okay.
And so they're like actually the official Jackson State podcast.
Okay.
So I got to let you know about them too, and
Yes.
have them have your information because basically that's what they do. They put out as many much alumni information as possible.
I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be cool. So yeah, like I said, I'm glad I met you. You had a Jackson State
Thanks.
jacket on, so
I did. Yeah.
I had to say something. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
I'm glad we connected. That was great. That was perfect timing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It
Yeah.
was. Well, thanks again for doing the show.
Of course.
Uh that's all the time we have for this podcast. Oh, well, wait, I gotta say this. So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, please contact the show and we'll give you the criteria so we can start to pub your business using our platform. I will post your information just as so we can get the word out about what you are doing. And also, when you saw Jackqualine and I talking down here at the ticker down at the bottom, you guys can see that I will put your information there so people can start getting the word about you, your business, so we can support and circle our dollars and do all of that stuff to bring each other up. That's all the time we have for this podcast. Check out the website and donate what's in your heart to themarchingpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Thanks to you for listening. And remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.